I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast that asks the question, what if Colossus had found Reddit back in the early 2000s? We're back with more Avengers versus X-Men. And this little batch of episodes we're recording, we have kind of a wide swing of content and quality and... man.
All over the place.
This is just, the whole thing is all over the place, Gary.
Can I say a general thing about this crossover that's now bugging me?
Mm-hmm.
That just started with this week. The whole idea was the X-Men got this power. The Avengers spent a long time being like, they're going to turn evil. They're going to turn evil. Let's fight them. They're going to turn evil. And then that happened for a long time. And now everyone's evil. Like it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
You know, like when did this character development that we're going to see here with Colossus happen? When did he go from like a Cyberrock bot to Reddit Phoenix incel Phoenix?
Presumably, like when he hung out with a bunch of Sinisters, right? Like Sinister poison pilled him or whatever the fuck pilled him. Like while they were fighting
the red diamond. Do you take the red diamond or the blue diamond?
Oh, Jesus. It's also the thing that's starting to bug me about the X-Men as Phoenix. As vessels for the Phoenix Force is there's a lot of talk about cosmic power and unbelievable control over life and death itself and things like that, and then like very pedestrian use of that stuff, and I don't know, like taking your girlfriend to a date in the bottom of the ocean floor as you like Moses yourself there is a pretty pedestrian use of your power. Like it just screams like I've got a tiny dick, and it's fine if you have a tiny dick. I'm just saying you're compensating for something. Like you're obviously not. You need to do something more than the next guy. And I don't know, man. Like it's just like I said, just feels real pedestrian.
Colossus definitely has a tiny dick. I don't think there's any way around it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, dudes like this. Back in heat.
We've talked about Colossus in this run a lot because the Satorak demon and Juggernaut stuff like had us both kind of interested in his development up to this and definitely after this. But boy, I have never been more disappointed in a Colossus comic book than I am in this one. This is horrible.
It doesn't read right. I don't feel like this is a bad couple of issues for Jason Aaron, who is someone I generally like. I don't like how he writes the X-Men very much. Like I like how he likes Wolverine. Like his solo Wolverine run is great, but I don't think he has a great handle on the rest of these X-Men. It just instantly Colossus can't just be evil. He's also like a really gross kind of evil.
Exactly.
And it doesn't feel Phoenixy. Like it doesn't feel like the Phoenix would turn you into more of a stalker horn dog.
Yeah.
The Phoenix should be less small ball than that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I feel like the Phoenix Force would just cause him not even he would just start with blowing up the school, right? Like there would just be no question. Yeah. Like he would skip to the end part of this and be like, oh, this thing that I want, Kitty Pryde, is distracted by this thing I don't like, the Wolverine School of X-Men. Let me eliminate the latter so I can get the former. Like I feel like that's just like a bare bones equation for a cosmic thing, and instead we get this long winded thing, which, and I don't know the backstory on any of this stuff. I never look it up, but it does have kind of a whiff of editorial like we want somebody write this issue. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And Aaron being like, okay, I'll do my best.
The people in control of this eventually being like, hey, we haven't actually shown the X-Men being very evil.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Colossus could go crazy for Kitty.
Well, let's get into it. So our cover is a phoenixed up Colossus handing some flowers to a very, very nervous Kitty Pryde. With
doing a real Jim face from The Office.
Yeah, like just a real she doesn't really have a collar, and if she did, she'd be tugging it. With a smattering of our X-Men kids in the background. I don't know why Quentin is
goofier cover than for what happens in this this issue. It's called My Dinner with Phoenix is the name of it. The art in this I think is pretty dodgy.
I do too.
The interior art. I don't know this artist. Jorge Molina. I think we've seen Jorge before on this series. I don't like it very much. It's weird. There's some weird kitties, off-brand NFT kitties in this thread. So there, it starts off as we're gonna have a flashback. It starts off with them having dinner, and Colossus really laying it on thick in a way that doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, you've seen our accomplishments, haven't you? I don't think that he would be so naive to think, like, yes, it's this weird thing where I think Kitty should be impressed by them saving millions of lives, but it doesn't feel like something Colossus would brag about this way because that's what they do. And it doesn't read like a way that the Phoenix would change his personality to me.
And like, incredibly over the top in like really dumbass ways. Like, even if I make the world perfect, it is nothing for me without you in my life. Like real like 13-year-old Jeremy in love with the redhead kind of poetry bullshit. Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like just real childlike almost, I guess is what I'm getting to. And then the whole setup where he's, floating down dishes of these prepared fish and lobster and things. And the next page is going to reveal that he is literally parted the sea and he's pulling these fish off, like fresh fish or whatever. It's just a little over the top. Like, it's just
He's
little
cooking
extreme.
them with the Phoenix Force, presumably.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
that to me opens up all kinds of cans of worms. Like, the Phoenix Force can perfectly sous vide a salmon. That's pretty impressive to me.
I mean, if you can alter the temperature of specific molecules in a dish, I mean, you're the perfect chef. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Take that,
Molecular
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. So reveals this, and she's really weirded out by it. It also has the thing too, where when he's saying like, here's all these great works, she's doing the same thing that everyone on that side of this does, where they're just like, I don't know, it feels weird, and it's inadequate.
Mm-hmm.
Like the scales still don't feel balanced until he turns into this Reddit monster in this. She's like, maybe you should let me talk first. He's like, oh great, we're gonna fall in love, and she's like, I got things to say. We flash back at this point to her at the school. Deathbird apparently was a teacher at the school, and maybe that's why we got a whole fucking issue about her and the kill priest of the Suicide Mountains.
I don't remember her being a teacher at the school before this, but I kind of I wasn't really in love with this series, but as I was reading everything up to this, so maybe I just put it out of my mind.
So a lot of people told me this was very good, and I get why someone might like it, but it's not didn't hit right for me either. I actually, the first time I started reading, I quit when it got to this crossover because I was like, I don't want to read the whole crossover, and I never really regretted it. She's kind of got the remainders here because all the teachers are all fighting. So Deathbird has to teach class. This is Husk, which I didn't realize. Husk must have some kind of new mutation or disease. They've got Deathlock, they've got Dupe, and then they've got Toad, for some reason, also teaching weird, Toad on loan from the Fables collection.
Yeah,
Toad.
And he's he's very much like the butt of the joke of this book, of the series. Like
until that really creepy little serious scene that we're going to hear in a second.
Yeah,
it's just incredible.
But he's very much like, oh, he's the janitor guy of whatever is going on. I don't have much experience with Deathlock. Like, it's a character I remember reading a lot as a kid, but I don't remember anything that happened. And reading him in the Uncanny X-Force, and then he gets transitioned from there to this. He just spits out statistics about how horrible everything is all the time, and it's a joke that really works for me for some reason. Like, this Deathlock is really great for me.
I like him a lot in X-Force.
Yeah,
a lot. She's like, okay, no one's teaching fourth period. She's trying to keep it together. That's the fourth period is where the Bamfs are, the tiny little naked night crawlers, whom I find a little annoying, running around. They're going to head on over there. She tries to talk to Husk, but Husk doesn't answer. And it's because she left her skin, which it's good to see she's still doing this. We talked about Generation X or whatever, her just leaving her skin around. This is a tradition that's lasted decades.
Very funny. I love Dupe's facial expression as she's confessing to it, leaving just a bunch of skin around. Like, he's just his arms crossed, like side eye.
He knows this shit's disgusting.
Yeah, he's like, I'm an alien blob of green, and I am way better than this.
I know this is gross. And Toad is like, ooh, let me clean it up. And then we get his little fantasy of him pouring tea for a Husk skin, where he has framed and mounted other parts of her skin.
This is not good.
Yeah, hey kids, framed skin.
Yeah.
So this fun comic relief character also has a lot of skin art in his apartment.
His haircut is very like 1960s Beatles, I feel like, or maybe like 1950s Beatles, and I just don't like it. It's off-putting to me.
He looks like a Fables character to me.
Like, I mean, you called that comic. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a weird look. Is it, him not his eyes never being shown?
Yeah,
like, that's extremely Fables. Very Bill Willingham.
So Kitty is trying to keep everything together. She's trying to figure out like how they're going to go on when flowers mysteriously appear in front of her. And outside is Colossus, who is like, "Hey, I want to ask you for a date." And then everybody goes out kind of expecting a fight. And Kitty Pryde is just like, "Hey, I can handle this. Like, you guys just go control the school. And if I don't come back, like, just, call the Avengers, I guess. I don't really know what to do." And this is going to switch us over to another part of the book where Magic and Iceman and Angel being members of the school, which is why we're switching over to them, tracking down Avengers, in this case, the Thing from Fantastic Four.
Yeah, with my least favorite Thing outfit.
Yeah, not good.
They get into a fight. Magic's being much more hardline. Humans are bad. Avengers deserve no mercy. Until Iceman eventually freezes him here reluctantly, getting him in jail. Iceman goes to go talk to Cyclops. This is a very revealing scene to me. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he says, "I'm sealing the San Andreas Fault. No more earthquakes for California." Again, I turn to a fucking broken record. Incalculable good.
I mean, just like, is that permanent?
Incalculable.
Are there no more in the 616? Are there no more earthquakes in California? Because goddamn, like, how many lives is that going to save? Like,
yeah, because Scott fixed it. Like, I live in the Pacific Northwest. Every other day, I open up, YouTube. It's a PBS thing about preparing for the mega quake that is like on the timer that is going to hit up here. There's like this impending natural disaster that they don't know when it's going to show up, but it's going to be a really big deal. I'd be pretty grateful if Phoenix Force just taken that worry off my mind.
Absolutely.
And he moves on. After that, I've got some rivers to build in Africa, an extinct species of tiger to rekindle in Bali, and then some children in the Ukraine to purge of birth defects. Later, I could use your help rebuilding the Arctic ice shield. Bobby's gone. It is too boring to Iceman.
The accountant
that stops doing all this stuff on account of them fighting an Avenger. He's like, "No, that's all really good. The Avengers are more important, though. I just feel kind of icky.
I feel kind of icky about this, Gary. I mean, I know
I hate it.
I know you guys
are
so
stupid. Like,
it's really frustrating. Like, watching Iceman specifically, because I feel like Iceman is the kind of character that would be extremely down for some of these like large scale events that don't involve like punching, right? Like, that's one of the things about Iceman that I remember from comic books is like, hey, all of the fighting stuff is just a drag. Like, I want the world to be a better place. I don't want to punch my way to it. And like, I feel like he would be listening to Cyclops right now going like, "Oh yeah, let's go to the Arctic. Like, right now, let's go rebuild the ice shield. Like, I'll help." This is exactly the kind of shit that I want to do.
It's Scott is Jonas Jr. Adventure. And then Iceman is the monarch in this. Like, he wants to play. And the Avengers are like the guild. Like, no. This is what superheroes do: is they punch. They wait for supervillains to do something horrible and they punch them. Yeah. And this is the thing that makes Iceman quit the Scott's team. What part of this made you fucking quit, you weirdo?
Which is insanity to me. Like, I had to go beat up the Thing. And that sucked. And then I went and talked to the boss, and he was doing much more important things with his time. And now that sucks too. So I'm going to quit the team. I'm not going to be on that team.
I'm back at the school. It's very frustrating. It's the essential. It's the thing. How in Civil War, that comic, right? Like, a lot of people, myself included, like, I think there's some joy to be found in that comic. It's considered to be a bad comic. People hate Mark Miller. I think there's some joy to be found in that, and just like the fun action figure smashing stuff. But people got really mad about how villainous Iron Man was during it. It's basically responsible for the kind of like people not liking Iron Man now, because they made a clone of Thor that killed Giant Man. It was really dumb. Everyone acts kind of evil for no good reason. And the essential problem with that comic is that, like, both sides are a little right, and they immediately go to cloning, their friend into murder bots. It's just stupid. The essential conflict of this is that the essential problem with this crossover is this is never dealt with. Like, maybe at the end, someone will give a speech and Captain America will look at the camera and be like, you can do a lot of good, but it doesn't matter if you get there through a bad way. And I just don't buy it as a lesson. It sucks to me that the Phoenix X-Men are just turning evil during this bank of issues, just after being poked for 2/3 of the crossover for not really doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem.
And there's been some, like, a little bit of evidence of like, oh, maybe they can't quite control this power or whatever. But there's an extensive debate about this in one of the new Avengers issues we're going to cover in this batch. But like, they actually haven't shown themselves to be not in control, and that's the thing that I keep coming back to is like, they haven't fucked up yet. Like, they really haven't. Like, this is the turning point. Like, Colossus is kind of being a jerk right now, but he's not being a worldwide scale jerk. You know what I'm saying? Like, he still fixed that all of that electricity problem from a while back. Like, that it doesn't give him the right to badger Kitty into marrying him, but it also like gives him a little bit of credit.
Well, and he and then the other evil turn that we have here is Emma whispering in Namor's ear and Namor going after Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
And like, Namor's going after Wakanda because the Avengers are there, and the Avengers keep fighting them and are at war with them, or constantly trying to stop them from doing this shit. I kind of get it.
Yeah.
There is an element, I think, of this that, later, Mr. Fantastic's going to say it, like, they haven't done anything until we started poking them. And I think that there's so much to that. I hate that this is the scene that makes Iceman quit. Drives me nuts. We go back to our poorly illustrated dinner, with some truly awful skull shapes on Colossus.
This the middle panel in the top half of the page is I guess I always assumed that his teeth would be metal too when he changed. But I mean, and then the face at the bottom where he looks like a lizard person is about to come out from underneath his skin is also very disconcerting to me.
Yeah, neither of these. He looks like he's got a head shape of a Sultan Sanctuary character in the bottom panel.
He absolutely does. Yes, yes.
Like, it's no good.
It's not. It's not good. Kitty is expressing her concern that this power is going to corrupt him, and he's like, "Ha ha ha! No, not at all. I can tell that you still love me. Let it out. Let us be again as we once were." And she's like, "Nah, fam, I don't want to do that. Like, you guys are locking up Avengers, and I think that's creepy, and I don't like it."
Yeah. It all comes down to weird Avengers worship.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's their fault. They're too stubborn. They can't see what we're doing is for the good of the world. And Kitty's like, is it? And it's like, here's a list of 1 million names.
Yeah. What is the opposite of a memorial? Oh, it's a bunch of living people? Oh, let's go look at them.
Yeah. I can show you a country. I don't have to show you a wall of names.
And the frustrating thing is like, I think her saying "is it" is an okay question. Like, hey, some of these people are our friends, some of them are our family. You're putting them in jail. There's no trial. Like, there's the question here is like, are you should you be allowed to do this? Is this the right thing to do? And the answer should be absolutely. Like, they are fighting us on a fundamental level from turning this world into utopia. And instead, Colossus answers this with, well, if I wanted to, I could burn the world alive, and I haven't done it.
He also, the thing that, God, it drives me nuts. So Colossus, out of everybody, should have a history with this kind of greater good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Colossus fled Russia, Soviet Russia. Like, he lived on a collective farm. Like, instead of being the kind of idiot that Jason Aaron writes him to be here, like, he could be a character who has a background, and these characters could talk to each other like they know each other, instead of him just constantly going, ha 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 ha, love me, marry me, ha 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 ha. Like, I don't know who he's writing him like, but it doesn't sound like Colossus.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't even sound like corrupt Colossus would sound like. You know what I'm saying? Like you could make the logical leap in your brain to go, well, if he was corrupted and this Phoenix Force is kind of speaking through him, he would sound like X, Y, or Z. Like maybe he would put all people above the one person in every single example. Or like I mentioned earlier, like destroying things that are in his way because nothing matters to him except Kitty. So he just demolishes the school without question. And instead of going through all of this, like, I don't know, like, Kitty, don't be rude kind of bullshit. Like, I just don't know where any of this is coming from.
He's Mr. Sinister. He's like a less charming Mr. Sinister supervillain now. You know?
And eventually he brings up, you know, Jean Grey and Rachel Summers and the fact that Kitty never questioned any of their actions. And she's like, well, I don't remember them locking up anyone who disagreed with them. And, like, they didn't. But, I mean, Jean Grey notably could not control the Phoenix Force. Like, it's such a weird thing to compare.
There's a whole planet of people who died. Jean Grey never tried to save lives with the Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly. Neither did Rachel Summers, I don't think.
Jean Grey stopped it from blowing up planets through self-control, but never actually tried to improve the lives of anyone who exists now. You know?
Man, you got to think about, like, whether he did it on purpose or not, like Chris Claremont making this whole Phoenix thing like an allegory for a woman's orgasm, and then them just stretching this metaphor to
what if a woman's orgasm was stretched between five men?
People? One of them is Russian for some reason. It's a lot.
3 men, of course. I just thought 5 men was funnier. You know, she's just like, again, you know, they didn't lock people up. And instead of saying, yeah, but they also didn't try to improve the world with this power, he instead says, you know, oh, there are those who fear progress. He says he's disappointed in her and she decides to leave. She mentions the school and this sets him off.
Yeah.
He slams his hands down about the school, Wolverine's ridiculous daycare. You know, this is all you care about anymore.
And, like, there's some basis in this, right? So, like, before this Phoenix stuff and when Wolverine splits with Cyclops during Schism, like, they were a couple. Like, they were in a relationship, and then Colossus decided to stay with Cyclops, and Kitty decided to go with Wolverine to this school. And that was, like, part of the fallout from the whole Schism thing.
Mini Schism.
Say again? It was a mini schism.
Schism.
Side schism.
This is my side schism.
She's my side schism.
I like to get some sad skiz whenever I'm in Albuquerque.
Oh God, Skiz made that whole thing way worse.
Wolverine and Cyclops. Skiz.
So, like, there's a little bit of, like, truth to this, and I can kind of see that maybe they're going for, like, oh, this is exaggerating. Colossus didn't like that at the time, and so now with the Phoenix Force, like, that force is going to be multiplied, and now that he can quote unquote do something about it, it still feels super dumb. It feels like
I just wish they hadn't drawn him like or written him like a jolly idiot.
Exactly.
Previous to this, because he's mooting. Like, Colossus has always been a broody artist. That's the whole point. That's the essential weird irony of his characters. He looks like a big brute, but he's a quiet, gentle artist, and they made him into a cartoon character for this. He's like, she's like, hey, let's just go to the school. You're right. They go to the school. We get to see Toad teaching tongue fighting classes.
Gross.
People without tongues.
On this page, on the bottom left, we see Colossus like holding his hand out to the school, and I hadn't noticed this detail of his costume, which is all of the Phoenix costumes are like kind of yellow gold and red kind of armor looking stuff, like real flashy, but then he's got these belts underneath his armpit.
You like those rib belts?
And like, what is the point of being the Phoenix if I gotta like tighten some shit? Like, I can't just have a costume. I just gotta have a strap and a fucking buckle. Like, I'm a cosmic being now. Like, what the hell?
Very sad to think of the Phoenix buckling its costume together.
I mean, and the fact that there's like 3 things on there means that it wasn't custom made for Colossus, which I thought was the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, was this originally for Namor, and Namor had to like tighten it up a little bit more until he said no?
Namor wears not a belt.
It's just
they're lucky Namor wears clothes, if I'm being honest.
Probably.
Like, we're lucky as well.
Do
you think his ding dong has little wings on the side?
I like to think that he doesn't have testes, that he just has 2 wings on each side. That's mine.
Yeah, 2 wings instead of testes.
Yeah, exactly.
They're still external,
Just on the top, like at the base, just 2 little flappy flappies.
Yeah. I dig it. Little flappy floppies.
Just enough to make somebody, sneeze if they're giving them a real deep blowjob. 2 weeks,
which he likes.
Of course he does.
Imperious
He's a
sex.
freak. He's a sneeze freak. Namor the sneeze freak.
new type of Atlantean king found guy. So he's really upset. He's like, why would you choose this over me? I have everything to offer you. And she's saying, stop this. This is, we've been on the X-Men side. Colossus is being awful during this. I'm no longer on Colossus' side. I hate how they wrote him.
Yes.
But, and
this
is where he's like, what if I destroyed the school?
Yeah, he's just moving to attack the school. So like everybody shows up to defend him, starting with Krakoa, because that's what the school is built on. But of course he escapes from there, and it's just kind of and then there's this really, really bad line where Kitty,
I hate it.
Kitty is just like, the state was already awful, just go home. And he says, not until I get my goodnight kiss, and then just continues to attack the X-Men.
Gross.
I mean, like, what are we going for here? Like, I mean, in terms of villainy, like, just what on the scale, like, this is awful, yes, but it's like despicable awful. Like, it's not even cool awful. And
no, they instantly turned.
Yeah,
They instantly turned. I do, it sucks because it's followed by a moment. Like Husk is like, you'll have to get past the X-Men first. And he's like, you are not X-Men. I like that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're the real X-Men. You're pathetic. As he just kind of takes them apart. I dig that. Like I wish he had not said the goodnight kiss line though. It's fucking disgusting. He walks up to Kitty. She reaches and grabs his heart. And it's like, don't make me do this. And he's like, how fitting, but what do you expect to happen? And she burns, burns her arm. And he says, you did that to yourself. I know that's meant to be a villain line. She did reach in and grab his heart. Basically he's like, I'm going to destroy the school. Tell them, it's closed for business. She says she'd rather die. You'll have to kill me first. And he's like, I could kill you and bring you back. Like I can do whatever I want. I'm the Phoenix. This is, the Phoenix taking over. And the power corrupting him. And this is his, he looks at the statue of Jean Grey that he's crumbled and realizes he fucked up and flies away.
Yeah. I like the fact that he's, he comes to himself in this. I think that if the idea here is that it was the Phoenix that was taking Kitty on the bad date, that makes the Phoenix so incredibly shitty to me. Like
we keep finding evidence of stupid Phoenix.
I mean, like if you're just gonna make the Phoenix dumb, like in an It's Always Sunny episode, like if it's just gonna be if you just gave the Phoenix Force to the It's Always Sunny cast, like this is the kind of shit that you would get. It would this would be Mac or Dennis actually would be more appropriate. This would absolutely.
I don't know
Dennis.
About Reddit Phoenix. As an idea.
I just don't think it's good. And I like the idea that he's going to try to fight back against this. But it's also weird because in the next 3 issues, like Colossus will show up and or not necessarily in all of them, but Colossus will show up in future issues and like none of that this is going to be reflected in it. He's just going to be like on the Phoenix side.
Iceman and Angel land and Iceman's like, Kitty, you were right. Scott's a maniac. He was trying to remove birth defects from Ukrainian kids. And that's not the kind of thing you get behind. And
I hate that.
Gives him some sass.
I hate removing birth defects from Ukrainian kids, says Bobby Drake.
I can't believe we stood by him. You were totally right. That guy's putting rivers in the desert.
And
fucked up. He wanted me to rebuild the Arctic ice shield. Has something to do with the climate. I don't know, but I'm not going to do it. I'd rather be here and sweep.
Have you heard about the fault line? Because it's fixed now, but I just think that's a bad thing. I just
feel weird about it.
1 star, says Bobby Drake.
Yeah, I fucking hate this. God damn it, Jason Aaron. I want to love you. When you're good, you're very good.
They've been kind of building this Iceman Kitty Pryde romance for a little while, and she mentions it here. Like, if you ever actually get the nerve to ask me out, like, don't take me to a seafood restaurant. And he's like, okay, sure. And I'm not a real huge fan of that. I don't ship it, Gary, is what I'm saying.
No, I'm not invested.
And then we end on this.
I was mistaken a couple episodes ago, where I thought that the Iceman gay stuff started here. It starts later than this. I was thinking about the North Star.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That happens. Yeah.
And then we end the issue on this, like, I guess, Colossus just walking alone with leaving fiery footprints in the snow and being all maudlin.
Feeling sad.
just a,
end of the Incredible Hulk TV show theme playing.
Right? Like this is just so just dramatic and over the top. It's absolutely hilarious. So
it's not a very good issue.
No, not at all.
I have in a general sense been disappointed in Jason Aaron's contributions to this crossover.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
For a writer I generally like, I think that he does not have a good handle on some of these characters.
Yeah, and also just, if it's really tough to do this with Colossus, and I want to see the return on this. Like if he's got to come out of this as something else, and at least through AVX 8 in the main line, we're not going to see any of that. So I'll be curious if any of this is followed up on. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're just evil now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be followed up on in that we're going to get Namor being evil and Emma starting to be evil. Magic's next. And they're all going to die and give powers to Cyclops, and he's not going to be able to handle it. And he's going to kill Professor Xavier.
There you go. End of podcast, everybody. Gary just outlined it for us.
The execution is what bugs me. Next couple issues, weirdly for New Avengers issues, we're out of the scrying pool.
Yeah.
They're good. I think they're cool.
I do too.
It's what Bendis is good at. Good talks. If you like the show, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and kick us some dollars. We'd appreciate it. You can also leave us ratings, reviews on Apple Podcast or Podcast Addict.
You can. You can also tell your friends, family, and coworkers all about the podcast. We very much appreciate that. I should have actually looked it up on Twitter. Someone did that recently. Someone was like, hey, here's these 4 X-Men podcasts, but I need more. And somebody was like, well, you should listen to this one. Listen to ours. And I'm like, if you like those 4, those are like real serious podcasts. Like they do a lot of we just make a lot of dick jokes.
Yeah, they do more research.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some podcasts do that. Not everyone has to.
I definitely don't want to. Yeah. That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. Some people will do that. Some people won't. Until next time, take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.